Minecraft recently fixed mobs clipping out of farms when growing up, so I used the Minecraft code to design 3 new auto chicken cooker farms that will no longer lose items. Hello there, Ray here, and automatic chicken farms are a great source of high quality food early game, and they are a playerless farm, meaning they can run without the player being there. You just need to have loaded chunks, which you can learn more about later in this video here. First, we're going to place in a chest for storage. Then we're going to collect the loot that comes from the dead chickens with this hopper here, which is pushing all of the loot into the chest. Then we're going to put up 2 temporary blocks in the center and then stack around the outside with blocks which will hold in the baby chickens as well as the lava. Then we're going to break out this block on the far side to place in our dispenser, which will dispense the eggs and turn them into chicks. Behind it, we're going to place in a hopper, which is going to pick up the eggs from the chickens above. Then we're going to place in 2 temporary blocks above the hopper and place in blocks on the outside of these 2. That way we can hold in the hens, which will be laying the eggs. Now we're going to put in the smart redstone system, which will automatically dispense any eggs that come into the system by placing in a block down here by the dispenser, placing a comparator, which will be checking to see if there's any eggs inside. Then we're going to place a sticky piston in front of this with an observer facing away from the farm. Then we're going to come in and place in a second observer that is behind this block here. We can just remove this to make it easier to place in and then put the block back in afterwards. Now we're going to come in here on the top and remove the 2 temporary blocks, and this is where you're going to throw in your chicken eggs to produce hens that will be used in order to collect eggs. Alternatively, you can come in here and build in a staircase so you can just find chickens that are throughout the world and bring them into your farm. So you can do this just by holding these types of seeds in your hands, and this will cause the chickens to follow you. And then you can get them to just follow you all the way up into the farm here, walk across to the opposite side, and then you can come in behind them and push them down into the hole. Or you can even breed these chickens before you put them in the hole. That way you can get more of them in order to fill it up faster. You could also use leads on them in order to transport them over dangerous terrain. Now the maximum amount of chickens you can have in here is 24 before they get max cramming. And to get more, we can just sit and collect their eggs with this hopper here, which we could do just by removing this comparator temporarily. And over time, we'll get a collection of eggs, which we can pick up out of here, and then come back here to the top of the farm and throw them in on here. And that way we can refill it until we get a total of 24 chickens. Now, on average, every hen chicken that you have in here will produce enough eggs to produce 1 cooked chicken per hour. So if you want more cooked chicken per hour, you'll need to put a vine in here, which will stop them from getting entity cramming damage. But there is a limit on how many hens you can have in here, because if they produce too many chicks, they're going to get entity cramming in the chick holding area. So having around 130 is the best. And then you can keep dropping eggs right at this height here until you reach 130, which you can check by going underneath, looking straight up, opening up your menu, and then looking at the entity count right here, which is all the entities that are currently on your screen in this direction. And then place a block on top of them so the chickens don't try to climb up the vines and get out. So now we're ready to put in the part which is going to hold the baby chicks until they grow up, and then also the part that will cook them so we get some cooked chicken. I'll show you all 3 designs that I came up with us starting with the simplest. And you can help me out by just leaving a like on the video. So for the simplest design, we're going to come in here and place in a stone cutter in front of this dispenser and place in a cauldron right above it, and then place lava into that cauldron. Now underneath, we're going to go ahead and collect the loot from the bottom of this stone cutter by moving the hopper up here, and then we're just going to have the chest underneath like this. Now we're ready to start up the farm. We're coming in with our comparator and we'll place it back in here with it facing towards the observer. And this will automatically activate all the eggs that we've been collecting up in the dispenser, and we'll dispense them here on top of the grindstone. And then when the chicks grow up into chickens, their hitbox is going to become bigger and it's going to clip into the cauldron up above. And this is where we have the lava, which is going to burn them and kill them at the exact same time. But since when the chicken dies, the loot from it is actually going to appear inside of it. So we can see it appear right here, and it has its own little hitbox. But despite the chicken's head being up above the lava, the item spawns below it, and the item's never able to actually fall into the lava because the item cannot clip through the bottom of the cauldron as it is solid, which causes items to sit on top of this stone cutter here until it is able to pick them all up. Since it can produce both feathers and chicken at the exact same time, the hopper could only pick up 1 type of item every 4 game ticks, where it will always pick up the feather first and the cooked chicken second. So only after some delay will it be able to pick up the cooked chicken. This is why we have to be careful and make sure the items don't fall into lava, because they won't be able to be saved by the hopper in time and the lava would destroy them. And then afterwards, the items are just stored away. We're almost at 500,000 subscribers, so join in by clicking the sub button. The second design does not need a cauldron, but it does need a hopper minecart. So we're going to place a slab down on top of the hopper, which is down here. Then we're going to come in with a block at this level here, place in a rail with a hopper minecart on top. It could be any type of rail. We're going to break the block and drop it all the way down. Then we're going to place in a hopper pointing into the dispenser so that it will look like this, where it's actually pushing the items back into the dispenser. And then we're going to build up the sides here and then come in with our lava on top. And then place a block on top so the chicks don't try to pathfind out. Then we're going to come down here and remove this block so that we can open up the chest to collect the loot. And then once again, we're going to start the farm by coming in and putting in that comparator once again that is pointing into the observer. And that's going to start activating the egg dispensing. And instead, the chickens are going to be actually placed into a really weird position here, where the chicken is actually sitting on the tip of the hopper, which is pointing towards the dispenser. And the way the game determines where the baby chick will be placed is actually really interesting. So what happens is the dispenser shoots out an egg right here near the center of the front of it in the middle, not actually down here where the hole appears to be. And the egg goes flying forward until the egg collides with a block. This can be like the side of an actual block, similar to like a block side that you can't walk through as a player, or it could just be colliding with the inside of a block. Then at this point, the egg is switched over to using a baby chick hitbox. This is because the egg is a quarter of a block, or being 0.25, where baby animals like the baby chicken are always half the size of the adults. So adults are 0.7 blocks, meaning that the babies are 0.35 blocks tall. So using this larger hitbox, which you can see with these lines here, it checks this hitbox to see if it collides with the edges of a block. And if the chicken's hitbox collides with any of the edges, then it will consider that a success. And it will then move the chicken further back until it's no longer colliding with the edge, and that's where it actually spawned in the baby chicken. But if the egg is dispensed directly inside of a block, or something that is very similar to a full block, you'll notice that it will never actually produce a baby chicken, despite the eggs all being wasted. This is because when it does that check, it will check to see if it collides with a block, which includes the inside of it. But then when it checks to see if it collides with the edge of it, it will fail, and this will cause the chick's spawn to also fail, therefore you never get a chick this way. And because when the eggs come out of the dispenser, they are placed a little bit in front before they start checking to see if they collide with anything, this causes them to miss some types of block collisions like this chorus plant here, because the edge of it is not far enough away from the dispenser. But if we use something that's a little bit further away, like the edge of this lectern here, all of a sudden it will find the edge of it and it will be able to collide the chicken up against it and move it backwards, and it will end up placing it directly inside here. And this distance is the exact same distance I'm using in the hopper. But besides having a special width, the block also has to hold the chickens in place so that when one of them grows into an adult, it doesn't push all the babies also upwards into the lava. And this problem occurs with a lot of other blocks. As you can see, using a stair, when the chicken grows up, it will push other chicks up into lava and kill them all. It also needs to be a block that has a collision close enough to the dispenser so that the new eggs that come out don't end up hitting the chicks that are already there and pushing them up into the lava, killing them. So I went through every single block that has these type of collisions looking for the perfect one, and out of all those, the only one that worked was a hopper. But not just any hopper, it had to be a hopper that was specifically turned sideways in order for the chicks to stand on top of it. Now luckily the code doesn't check to see if the chick is colliding with the block, so they can actually place them directly inside of the rest of the hopper, which is up above it. And this is great because it has extra collision on the sides, preventing the chick from getting pushed sideways whenever any of them grow up into an adult. And then when the chicken grows up, it's going to get bigger and it's going to be inside of the lava that is up here, where it then will take damage, but when it dies, items once again are going to spawn down by its feet, and then the items are going to be immediately picked up by the hopper minecart, which is underneath, and they're going to get pulled out by the hopper underneath of that. But unlike a normal hopper, when it comes to the hopper minecarts, they will try to pick up items every single game tick, meaning that both the cooked chickens and feathers will immediately be picked up by it before it ever has a chance of getting burned by the lava, and it will get stored away. And now I will show you the third design, which is the coolest design out of the three, as it uses a trick I discovered way back when foxes were added, where you can give them a looting sword, so they will produce more cooked chicken than what you normally would get. With the base design, we're going to first come in and remove this block here, put in a trapdoor on top of the hopper down below. We're going to place in a block here with our rail, so we can place in a hopper minecart, drop it down on top of it, and this way it's close enough to pick up the loot that's going to be above this stair here, which faces this direction so that the chicks can land on this ledge here. Then we can place in any type of carpet on top of that. Then we're going to build up the walls so we can place the fox here on top of it. Now we just need to bring a fox over, which you can find in groves as well as taiga biomes. To catch a wild fox, once you get within about 12 blocks, then crouch and start moving towards it. This will make it less afraid of you. Then once you get close enough to it so that you can click on it, uncrouch and right click with your lead very quickly before it runs away. Now once you bring it back to your chicken farm, be careful because it will try to kill all your chickens. And if it happens to have an item inside of its mouth, just give it some type of food that it can eat, and then we can free up the fox's mouth this way, as the fox will eventually eat the food. Now we're going to give the fox the looting 3 sword, that way we get more items for every kill, as well as we're going to put fire aspect 1 at least, and that way it will automatically cook the chicken. Other enchantments aren't needed, but they should not affect the farm. And all these enchantments are placed on any type of sword, as they're all strong enough to one-hit the chicken, and then when you just drop it, the fox will pick it up. Then we can pull the fox into the farm with our lead here, pull it up the stairs, pull all the way across, and once it goes inside, we're going to go ahead and close off the top, and then we're just going to pull in the lead until it breaks, where it'll get picked up by the hopper minecart, and then we can remove this block and place in a stair so we can access the chest to pull up all the items. Now once again we're ready to start the farm, we'll come over here and place in the comparator facing the observer, and this will automatically shoot the chicken eggs into our stair here, with the chicks being low enough so that they don't stick their head above the carpet so the fox cannot kill them. But once they grow up to adult, then they're high enough so the fox can see them and it will attack them and kill them. And just like the other farms, when the chicken dies, the items are going to be placed down here by its feet. And this way the cooked chicken never ends up above the carpet so that the fox will never see the food source and drop his sword in order to pick up the chicken. This is important because we don't want the fox to have anything that he can pick up, otherwise he will drop the sword. And then the hopper minecart underneath will pick up the item as soon as possible and store it away in our chest. Now there is a very rare chance that a chick will grow up to a chicken, and before the fox actually kills it, it will then get pelted by another egg that comes out of the dispenser, which will knock it upwards into the fox's pen, where the fox will then end up killing it and the items will end up by the fox. So to prevent the fox from picking up these items, that's why we have the hopper minecart on top of this trapdoor, so it's slightly higher so it can pick up items that even on top of this carpet here. And after testing the farm for hundreds of hours, the fox was never able to actually get any of the food and never dropped its sword. And I also designed an automatic farm for every other item in the game of Minecraft, which you can check out with this playlist here. I could not continue to make these videos without you guys' support, so thanks all to my supporters here on screen, where you will even get a special badge in front of your name when you talk down in the comments. Otherwise, you guys can always support me just by leaving a like and sharing this with your favorite Minecrafter. Bye bye!